Hi, this is Rob Warlow from Business Loan Services and welcome to my Friday Business Finance Bulletin, my weekly roundup of news, tips, ideas and strategies on raising finance and dealing with banks. So what have I got for you this week? Well, a little bit of a special overview about what we've been up to. Also a look at a new report out about the increase in the alternative finance market. We'll also be looking at a new review going to be carried out by the government into the banking sector and a quick look at what keeps SMEs awake at night. And in my tip of the week, I look at what you should do with the business plan once it's ready to go to the bank. So let's first of all start off with a quick overview. Well, an overview of what? Well, as you can guess, this is episode number 50. Yes, half a century, done 50 of these Friday Business Finance Bulletins. Now, when I started this back in October 2014, I thought, wow, are we going to keep this going? Well, I have, because there's an insatiable appetite for knowledge about what's going on in the marketplace, especially if you're a growing business. And that was the idea of this bulletin, just to keep you informed and keep you right at the edge of all the new things happening in the small business finance space. So what's changed? Well, as we look later, and as has been a constant theme through all of these bulletins, we've just seen the continual explosion in crowdfunding, getting more and more popular. On the other side, on the traditional bank lending, over the last 12 months, myself and the Business Loan Services team, Colin and Steve, we've seen banks beginning now to start taking more interest in businesses. Yes, they're beginning to knock on doors and they're more willing to look at deals. So there has been a change. What about from business owners like you generally? Well, it's clear confidence levels have been increased over the last year or so. Businesses are much more willing now to take on borrowing, whether that's to supplement working capital or to buy new plant and equipment, whatever it may be. So over this year that we've been doing this, there has been a sea change generally, and I'm sure that will continue. So here's to the next 50, and I look forward to being able to present episode number 100 within the next 12 months or so. So let's start off with the normal news. An interesting report out over the last week or so from Nesta in conjunction with the University of Cambridge, taking a look at the rise in the alternative finance market as crowdfunding, peer-to-peer lending and invoice trading. And as we know, it's exploding. Up to 2013, Nesta reckoned about £660 million was lent through the alternative market. And they're forecasting that by the end of 2014, this will be up to 1.7 billion. So a substantial increase. But they're looking by 2015 that this should explode further to total lending of about 4.4 billion. And it just shows how everybody is now beginning to get behind the idea of alternative finance to either move away from banks completely or, our view, to complement. Now, they reckon that over 7,000 UK SMEs have tapped into this fund, but from awareness levels quite low. About 42% of businesses are just not aware still of what crowdfunding and peer-to-peer lending is. And also the fact that less than 10% of small businesses have actually approached a peer-to-peer or crowdfunding platform for finance. So we can see there's a lot of scope for growth, especially considering that what the crowdfunding platforms have done to date only accounts for about 2.4% of total bank lending. So this sector just will continue to grow. If you want to know how you can access crowdfunding and peer-to-peer lending, by all means, just drop us an email, info@businessloanservices.co.uk, and we can help point you in the right direction. Well, back to traditional lending, and the government has announced through its Competition and Markets Authority yet another review on the banking sector. How many of these do we actually need? The government's concerned that there's not enough competition, banks are not transparent enough on fees and stuff, and then barriers to entry being put in the way of challenger banks. Yeah, I get it, I find, but the sad thing is this commission is not going to report until May 2016. That's a long way away. And I just firmly believe that as business owners, the decision lies with you. Yes, it's a little bit of a hassle to go out and look for new finance and look for different providers, but they're suppliers, so shop around. It takes a bit of time, and again, if you need some help, by all means give us a call. I'm at Business Loan Services. We can help you out on that. Just go out there, knock on the doors. The alternatives, as we know, are there. I'm just not convinced that we need yet another report. So what keeps small business owners awake at night? Well, that was a question asked recently by the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales. And not surprisingly, because I've covered this in previous videos, access to finance wasn't really on the list. The things that keep business owners awake is the economy. Is this growth that we're beginning to see, is it going to continue? And also late payment, and that's been a feature over the last bulletins as well. Now, these are the things that keep you and your colleagues awake. Now, that's not surprising that when it came to interest rates, 78% of them saying that increases in interest rates did not concern them. Why? Well, 86% of that 78% say they don't actually borrow, so therefore it's irrelevant to them. And again, we have now this kind of paradox where we've got government saying, businesses are being starved of credit, etc. And a large number of businesses are just not borrowing. Now, I've seen this and mentioned it previously in a quarterly report that comes out called the SME Finance Monitor report. And that also showed that over a 5-year period, 80% of businesses say they're not interested in borrowing. So obviously, any future increase in interest rates doesn't concern businesses. However, there is one little caveat. Businesses are concerned that if there is an interest rate rise, it will affect consumer spending, and therefore that will affect their turnover levels. So the key thing is economy, sit down, plan ahead for both good times and bad times. And the other thing that keeps you guys awake, late payment. We've mentioned this in previous bulletins about making sure you have systems and processes in place to make sure you don't fall foul of late payment. So what's my business finance tip of the week? Well, I got a clip from a seminar that I did recently. We're looking at business plans. Now, what do you do with a business plan when you're about to get ready and sitting in front of the bank manager to present your case? Well, in this clip, I'll just give you a tip about something that you should do and something that you shouldn't do where your business plan is concerned about when you're ready to present to the bank. So let's go to that clip now. Step 8, you're ready to go. Now, this is all about preparation in advance. I've said before that you really have to have the business plan. Do not make the mistake of taking your plan or your application form with you to the meeting and slapping it on the desk there and then. So this is the first time that he or she sees it. Send it 5 days, 7 days, a week in advance. I sat at on that side of the desk and receive plans at the interview, right on the interview, and they're plans like that, and you don't get a good meeting because, exactly what you said, the banker is totally unprepared. He can't ask those good questions, and so you're wasting an opportunity, because what will happen, you'll just skirt around the edges. The manager will get a feel for where you're coming from, but the detail that he's going to need to put into an application is not going to be there, because he's not done the preparation. So what happens, he'll say, thanks very much for the time. That was really good. It's given me a good flavour, a good overview of what you're trying to achieve. So let me take your plan, have a read of it, I'll come back to you, and then we'll arrange another meeting so we can go through this. What a waste of time. You've now got to traipse all the way back in again to ask for questions. So get the plan in a week in advance to allow him or her to read through the plan and come up with the questions. So there we are. The tip is send your plan well in advance and get a good quality meeting so you don't waste time by follow-up meetings. So here we are then. That's it for the end of episode 50. So I look forward, as I said at the beginning, to be with you for the next 50. But in the meantime, I do look forward to being with you again next Friday. And please, as ever, if you did enjoy this video or the podcast version, please do share it amongst your business friends and colleagues. All helps to spread the message that there are things you can do to get access to finance and make it easier and better for you. So thanks very much. I hope you have a successful and profitable week. See you next Friday. Bye-bye now.